again, everyone. Welcome back. As I mentioned in my last video, I was getting ready to get out of Gillette for a while and go do some camping outside of the city. I know some people do vandalballing in the city long term, but it's definitely not my thing. So I was looking forward to getting out of town for a while. And so I ended up heading over to the Black Hills. There's actually the Black Hills National Forest is mostly in South Dakota, but there's also some of it in Wyoming, along the South Dakota border. So I had a few sites I wanted to check out. The first, actually, there are 4 sites right just south of Beulah, Wyoming, and I went there first. Beulah is a little town right on the state line, and basically you just get off and take the county highway down. Well, it's county road. It's a gravel road. Fairly well maintained, a little washboard, but nothing too bad. You follow that road for a few miles, and there are 4 recreation sites that allow free camping. It's the Sand Creek access areas, and there are 4 of them within about a mile or so. They're all on the north side of the road, and they're right along the Sand Creek. They offer free camping for up to 5 days. I always been skeptical. I'd read very little about these sites online, and only I found them in very few reviews and little information. So I was skeptical whether I would have phone service there, and I was also a little skeptical about the tree cover, because they're along the creek. Often that means enough trees that you'd have problems with getting good sun for solar. And so I was able to find these sites, and all 4 of them actually looked at varying degrees with the sun. It would be okay. And I had about 2 bars of horizon across the board in all 4 sites. I did a data test, or I did a speed test, and not wonderful, but not terrible either. So it's it's usable. I don't know if you'd be able to stream video on it, and if you had to do any big uploads or something like I have to do for work, sometimes it would be a problem. But generally they were workable. The catch is they were all 4 occupied already, and they're fairly small areas. So once you get a couple rigs in them, they're pretty well, you'd be crowded. So from there I headed over near Belfouche, South Dakota, to the Belfouche Dam and Reservoir. There's actually a campground on the other side of the reservoir, on the south and on the east side. That is a paid campground, and that has both regular tent type sites and sites with utilities. But along the west side of the reservoir is free camping. So I went and checked that out. That was not crowded, probably only about 10% occupancy. The road in is in pretty good condition, again washboard, but it's a well-maintained gravel road. And as you go along the reservoir, and then you'll find a number of different camping areas, places you can camp. It's not dispersed camping like you find in the desert, but it is primitive camping. So you're only allowed to camp at real campsites. And I checked out a few, and basically what I was running into there with that was the campsites are all along the reservoir, and almost all along the reservoir. And there's trees along there, and because of I was on the west side of the reservoir, and the position of the sun this time of year, that meant I wasn't going to be able to get very good solar coverage in any of the places I would need to camp, or almost any of them. So that was a concern. But then the other concern was that while the main road is gravel and is in good shape, and there's a gravel continues a little ways as you move off into the camping areas, but then you have to drive off the gravel, and you're driving on either sand or on grass on top of sand, where you have to camp and park. And it was several days of rain in the forecast this week, so that kind of concerned me with a minivan. I might get stranded out there. Phone service was, again, about 2 bars. I had a couple times I saw 1 bar, and one particular spot I saw 3 bars, but there wasn't anywhere to camp there. So everywhere I could find there were campsites, it was 2 bars, and usable but not wonderful. But because of the basically the concerns about the weather and the sandy places you had to park, as well as the limited tree cover, I decided to skip on that one as well. Ended up coming back over to Wyoming to a state park, which cost me a few bucks, but I've been enjoying myself, and I'll have more about that in the next video. But I'll include the links to where you can get more information about these 2 campsites I did check out in the description. They're both nice spots, so if you're coming through and and those things that were a concern for me are not going to be a problem for you, then by all means check them out. They were nice spots. They just didn't work for me this time for different reasons. But I did get out of town anyways, and I'm enjoying some time in nature with watching wildlife and some peace and quiet and solitude, and having a great time here. And I'll include more information about this site in the next video probably. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.